Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna. So, welcome to today's Bhagavad Gita class. We're going to be reading from chapter 12, text 13 to 14. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sure, thank you very much. Sorry if I'm dyslexic when it comes to music, so forgive me. Om Gyanartimyandasya Gananjana Salakaya Jakchurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutaye Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Brasyatyade Zatarne. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'd like to seek your blessings before we begin today's class, that I may be able to speak something worthwhile. I'd also like to seek the blessings of those who may be listening online. Vancha kalpa tarubhascha kripa sindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Yeah. So today we're going to be reading from text 13 to 14 and chapter number 12, and the text is on the TV screens. So I'll just recite the first verse and then we'll recite the second verse together, if that's okay. Advesta sarva bhutanam metre karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara sama dukkha sukha shama. And Shantushta Satatam Yogi Yatatma Dreda Nischaya Mayarpita Manobuddhir Yomad Bhakta Sami Priyaha. So we'll continue with the second verse. Yeah. Like do? Okay. Oh yeah. Sasadam Yogi Maitra Karuna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Samaduka Sukha Shami Shantusta Satatam Yogi Yatatma Dreda Nischaya. Mayarpita Manobuddhir Yomat Bhakta Same Priya. Yes, thank you, Machi. Advesta Sarva Bhutanam Maitra Karuna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Sama Dukkha Sukha Shami Santushta Sadram Yogi Yitatma Drida Nischaya Mayarpita Manobuddhir Yomad Bhakta Same Priya. Okay. Would anyone else like to try? Okay. So we'll continue on to the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Okay. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So I'll just read it one more time. Okay. One who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who and does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So I will say one more time, and maybe if you like you can repeat after. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. Yeah. And purport. Coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualifications of a pure devotee in these two verses. A pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances, nor is he envious of anyone, nor does a devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks, this person is acting as my enemy due to my own past misdeeds, so it is better to suffer than to protest. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8, it is stated, Tate nukampam susamik samano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Whenever a devotee is in distress or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeeds, I should suffer far, far greater than I am suffering now. It is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that I am not getting all the punishment I am due. I am just getting a little, by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, he is always calm, quiet, and patient, despite many distressful conditions. A devotee is always kind to everyone, even to his enemy. Nirmama means that a devotee does not attach much importance to the pains and trouble pertaining to the body, because he knows perfectly well that he is not the material body. He does not identify with the body, therefore he is freed from the conception of false ego and is equipoised in happiness and distress. He is tolerant and he is satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme Lord. He does not endeavour much to achieve something with great difficulty. Therefore he is always joyful. He is a completely perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master. And because his senses are controlled, he is determined. He is not swayed by false arguments, because no one can lead him from the fixed determination of devotional service. He is fully conscious that Krishna is the eternal Lord, so no one can disturb him. All these qualifications enable him to fix his mind and intelligence entirely on the Supreme Lord. Such a standard of devotional service is undoubtedly very rare, but the devotee becomes situated in that stage by following the regulative principles of devotional service. Furthermore, the Lord says that such a devotee is very dear to him, for the Lord is always pleased with all his activities in full Krishna consciousness. Shri Prabhupada ki. So this is coming to the point. There's a lot to discuss in this purport in itself and this verse. Shri Prabhupada here and this verse itself describes the qualities of a devotee. Krishna personally uses a devotee of mine who is very dear to me. So these are the qualities of one who is very dear to Krishna. Of course, as is mentioned, it is a very high standard to be, we're talking about being free from false ego. So this is someone who is completely purified. We may call ourselves devotees, but we still have to become purified. So in this 12th chapter, it's the final chapter of actually the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita. So there's 3 different sections in the Bhagavad Gita. From the first 6 chapters, they discuss karma yoga. The middle chapters, 6 chapters, they discuss devotional service. And then the third, last chapters, they discuss jnana yoga, so knowledge. So in terms of devotional service, this 12th chapter is started by Krishna says that the best in devotional service is to actually meditate on the Lord's personal form. Shri Shri Radha Kukulananda ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Laxman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki. So in this chapter, Krishna describes that the best is actually simply to serve Krishna in terms of Krishna's personal form. And then he goes on to describe that there are those who may actually try and serve the Supreme Lord. Kleshodika tarastesam, avyaktasakta setasam, avyaktahi gatir dukam, tehevadbir avapyate. That those who are meditating on the impersonal, unmanifest form of the Supreme Lord, advancement is very troublesome. So he describes that actually those who are actually what we call impersonalists, who aren't actually aware or don't accept the form of Krishna, for them advancement is very troublesome. Of course, we know that there's 3 different aspects of the Absolute Truth. They are Bhagavan, the Paramatma in the heart, And sorry, I said Bhagavan. I meant Brahman, which is the effulgence of the Lord. Then there's Paramatma, and then there's the Bhagavan, which is the complete realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are the different aspects of the Absolute Truth. So it's not that we don't we don't disrespect the Brahman. Brahman is as Krishna says, this non-dual substance. It's a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's simply just not the actual complete realization of the Absolute Truth. Krishna goes on to discuss, to say that there's different actually ways that one can worship the Supreme Lord. For those who struggle to actually worship the Supreme Lord, to completely dedicate ourselves to the personal form of the Supreme Lord, for them there is the impersonal aspect, but ultimately he's saying, if you can't actually completely meditate on my form, so it's not that we should never neglect the form of Krishna as the Supreme. We should always keep that as a focus. But those who can't actually, which is actually all of us when we begin devotional service, Krishna says, then we should actually endeavor in terms of principles of religion. So it's these which will help us. And then Krishna says as well, even if we can't, we should just, even the principles of religion and so on, but we should just work for Krishna as well. If we can't concentrate on the personal form, just actually dedicate our offerings to Krishna. And then even Krishna says, even if we can't do that due to family considerations, or we're too attached to our community, friends and society in terms of the mundane aspect, then Krishna says, at least, do good work. So Krishna is very merciful. He wants us to ultimately become dear to him in terms of devotional service. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Samaham sarvabhuteshu named vestosi na priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maete tesujapyam. Krishna says that he doesn't envy anyone. He's partial to everyone. And he's equal to all. He's not impartial to anyone. He's equal to all. But whoever renders service unto him is very dear. He says, is very dear to me, is in me, and is a friend to me. I am a friend to him. So, of course, Krishna says, Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Adhikara, Dahan Krishna, Yahanami Maya Adhikara. That Krishna is just like the sunshine, and Maya is just like the darkness. So, in terms of Krishna being just like the sunshine doesn't discriminate. So it's us that have to, come to the light in that sense. So Krishna doesn't discriminate, and we can. What Krishna is really saying is, whatever stage or circumstances we find ourselves in, we can still do our best, and that's really what Krishna is saying in this 12th chapter. Simply endeavor and do our best. So Krishna talks about all these actual good qualities. One who is not envious, a kind friend to all living entities. So this can only be achieved, it can't be achieved philosophically or artificially. It has to be achieved through the process of devotional service, which is ultimately the cleansing of the heart. And this is done through the process of devotional service. So, in this material world, it's very difficult. We have so many distractions. It can be very troublesome. Even to take to the process of devotional service, we can achieve. We can have so many obstacles. Whether it's friends, family, peer pressure, and so on. So, naturally, in the material world, for one to become a devotee, it's going against the grain of material existence. It's going against the grain of sense gratification, thinking ourselves the proprietor and the enjoyers. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhogasvarya prasaktanam te praharta shetasam vyavyasasya buddhi samadona vidiyate. For one who is too much attached to sense gratification and material enjoyment, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. So it's a science, even that determination. In devotional life, if we can see we have a lack of enthusiasm, then there's actually an indication of our bhakti. I remember there was this devotee who was speaking, and he was, if anyone here knows Mother Kalangana, she was I never actually saw her or met her, but she was considered a very pure devotee, and she was a Srila Prabhupada disciple. And this devotee, he said he was basically doing, he's assisting in the deity kitchen, but he made some mistake. But Mother Klangana said that actually she was looking at on a higher platform, and she said, there's a problem with your bhakti, because she could see that the mistakes don't just happen. It's there's a reason that we're not focused enough on Krishna, and these lead to mistakes even in our everyday service. When you hear about Srila Prabhupada disciples actually speak about Srila Prabhupada, they say that he just, he never was clumsy, he never made mistakes. Everything was very exact, and this was obviously due to his devotion. One of the qualities is, I believe it's called Daksha, which means expert. So Srila Prabhupada actually manifested that as at Mother Kalangana. So the way to actually, as we actually have to develop that consciousness, that Krishna consciousness, that's why we have to take to the process of what's called sadhana bhakti. So there's two different types of bhakti. One is sadhana bhakti, and then the other is Vedi bhakti. So Vedi bhakti means it's spontaneous. Sadhana bhakti means rules and regulations. So this is sadhana bhakti is the natural criteria for everyone who begins Krishna consciousness, and these involve 4 regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds a day, honoring of prasadam, and of course it's good to have association with devotees. I find devotional life, just from my own introspection that, Sri Prabhupada uses the phrase, a lot he uses the phrase puffed up. And so this is in terms of our false ego. And our false ego, I think of it as like a hot air balloon. So it naturally, it can naturally just, it can take us, high in the sky. But naturally through reading, chanting, devotee association, especially reading scripture, that every time you read scripture, I personally find that we become grounded. It's like weights that completely ground everything, and we find ourselves on a level surface. So it's very good to actually read scripture as well, to have that knowledge. That knowledge is something which will anchor us in devotional life, and give us the intelligence how to actually navigate through this world, the material modes of nature. So we have if you're not familiar, we have the three modes of material nature, and these are the binding force in this material world. So it's said that the living entity, Purusha prakritisto hi bhunkti prakriti janganan karanam guna sangasya sada sadyoni janmasu. So it says guna sangha. So that means association with the modes of material nature. This is in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 13. It speaks about these modes of material nature, and through associating with the modes of material nature, that's how we go through the various species of life, enjoying the ways of material existence, which are quite degraded for the soul, and unfortunately that's our circumstance in the material world. So Srila Prabhupada they often speak about living entities as a specimen, called like a polished animal. So this is what Srila Prabhupada calls us, in terms of, in this material world, without actual scriptural regulation, we're simply polished animals. And because the animals, their life is dictated by the direction of their senses, and the senses are very powerful, and they can dictate our course of action. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yatato yapi kunteya purushasya vivashitaha indriyani pramateni haranti prashabhamanaha. That the senses, that they're so strong and impetuous that they can forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So the solution to this is that we have to engage in devotional service. Krishna is Rishikesh. So Rishikesh means that Krishna, he is the one who actually controls the senses. So it said, Deviyesha guna mami mama maya dratya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. That this material world and these modes of material nature are very difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond them. So this world is the ocean of nescience. Which means the ocean of ignorance, and devotional service is like a boat. But when we take to the process of devotional service, that ocean becomes small, like the hoofprint of a calf, and it doesn't become an obstacle. So when we take to the process of devotional service, we immediately we go beyond the modes of material nature actually. But that's not to say we're still fully pure. It said, Yo mam vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagonan samatityetam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who takes to the process of devotional service immediately transcends the modes of material nature. And so when we take to the process of devotional service, we're immediately transcendently situated. So this means we're no longer on the material platform. And this is the process of devotional service. As Krishna says, Yat karosi yadasnasi yajahosi dadasi yat yat tatapasi konteya tat karusvya madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever austerities perform, whatever you give away in charity, and so on, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So this is what Krishna requires. Whatever we do, if we do it for Krishna, then we're safe, we're free from contamination from the material modes of nature. They often give the analogy, if we're in this material world, which is the ocean of nescience, if we're in the ocean, we're inevitably going to be wet. So it's naturally that we have to actually take shelter of the process of devotional service, and only then can we really purify our hearts. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, the impersonal process, which is very difficult, after many lifetimes, one will actually come to the realization of Krishna and Bhagavan and devotional service. So for that reason, it's very difficult. Krishna says, he says, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I was just thinking that even there's this yogi that I used to follow, but I was convinced that he was such a high, saintly person, and I remember he had in his book, he had a picture of himself meditating in the lotus posture, and he was only 3 years of age, and so his whole life he was completely just focused, but still, after all that, and probably lifetimes of taking birth in such, meditation and so on, he was still, convinced that at the end of the day, that he was going to become the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he thought that he was just as supreme, just to reawaken that. But that's not the process. The process is that, as the scriptures state, that mame vamso jiva loke jiva buddha sanatanaha, that Krishna says the living entity is my eternal fragmental parts and parcels. So we're eternally parts and parcels of Krishna. And so that's something to be very wary of. And devotional service, Krishna says, Bahunam jamananante gyanavanman prabhadyante vasudeve savaramiti samatmara sadarabaha, that after many births and deaths, one who's in knowledge finally takes the process of devotional service. So it's devotional service that is the supreme knowledge, Raja Vidya Raja Guyam, that when we take to the process of devotional service, there's nothing beyond that. When Krishna speaks about his devotees, Satatam Kirtayantam, that they chant his glories, and sorry, I'm trying to Satatam Kirtayantam Yadantas Shadravata Namadantas Shamanta Nitya Yukta Upasate, that they're eternally engaged in his worship. So Nitya is eternally engaged. So they say that what is the goal? What is the goal of chanting Hare Krishna? The goal is to chant Hare Krishna. That's the goal. That's the goal. The meaning of Hare Krishna is, my dear Lord, please engage me in your devotional service. And the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is an eternal pastime. So when we talk about even in the spiritual world, we eternally engage in the Lord's service. And of course, when we chant Hare Krishna, there's different stages, and we ultimately hope to have what I call Nam Ruchi, which is a taste for the holy name, and from the holy name that we can actually go deeper in a relationship with the Lord. I'd like to ask if there's any questions. Yes, thank you, Rajvu. Sorry, you said when you become a Vaishnav? Oh yeah, well, when you become a Vaishnav, it's only a matter of time. They're on the right path, and so it's only a matter of time. But of course, they have to, to ultimately, to go through that process, and it depends on their sincerity ultimately. That we can go quickly based on our sincerity. But it said that once we take shelter of the Guru will never forget us, and he'll even come back, as long as he has to actually to bring him or ourselves with him. Yes. Yes, and there's an example of this was a Srila Prabhupada disciple. I believe he used to be a sannyasi in ISKCON, but for whatever reasons he fell away from Krishna consciousness and the society, and he got married. He never told his wife about the devotees, about Krishna, and then on his deathbed, he started saying Prabhupada, like he could see Prabhupada, and then his wife was like, who is Prabhupada? But they had that realization that Srila Prabhupada, had come to try, to take him, to bring him back, ultimately. But that's, I don't want to speculate too much, but ultimately that's the Guru's service when we take shelter of a spiritual master. Yes. They have to endeavor themselves. It's said that eventually they will get liberated once they're on the path. But they could still fall right away into a very undesirable state of existence. Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Boo. Yes. Jivadoya. Thank you, Boo. I'll just repeat that. It's Nam Ruchi, Jivadoya, and Vaishnav Seva. If Bhaktivedanta Thakur mentions these are the three aspects. So Nam Ruchi means taste for the holy name. Vaishnav Seva means service to the devotees. That's because Krishna becomes more pleased when we serve his devotees. And then Jivadoya means compassion to the fallen souls. Priyojanapu, had you something to say? Would you like to say?
Yes, it's in the she texted me, and he says,
Oh, thank you. Actually, it's we only yeah. Shina.
Once you chant the holy name of the Lord, in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself, low and strong, straight, and should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to uphold all this. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. He says, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want the causeless devotion service, birth after birth. So he's saying, it looks as though, well, maybe not this time, but it's causeless devotion service. We've got to be convinced in our own selves to do the best we can with what we've got now, whatever state we're in. It's thank you for the class, and
Thank you very much.
appreciate this fantastic verses that you've brought to us actually, and because this includes envy, all these things that we don't want anymore. Okay. All right. So I just had a notification.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, all glories assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thanks.
Shri Radha Gokulanand ki, Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Gauranitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ki Bajaya